Blessings, beautiful beings. It's Shanna here, and today I want to talk to you about law of attraction and how it relates to the nervous system, okay? I don't feel like this is talked about enough, and I just want to give you the heads up. I'm filming in Costa Rica. I'm in a area where I'm surrounded by neighborhood with dogs and roosters and beautiful birds and cicadas and butterflies. And I'm an outdoor freak, so I like to film outdoors. And unfortunately, that means you're gonna hear the roosters and the dogs and the birds and the cicadas. And that might be wonderful for you, and you also might be annoyed. So just giving you the heads up. And, you know, we're gonna flow with it. So what does the nervous system have to do with law of attraction? So law of attraction is something that, you know, has been around since, honestly, it's the late 1800s. I don't remember. There was a female author that first came up with it, but if you look up in Google, you get 1906. It's William Walker Atkinson was the first, and of course it's the male that got all the credit, but there was somebody else that had actually mentioned it beforehand. And you know, it became popular because of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. It became popular from Abraham Hicks and The Secret, the movie The Secret that came out. So, you know, law of attraction is basically saying within the universe, we're all based in frequencies and vibration. And within that, like attracts like. The singing bowl concept, right? Like tuning forks. You hit one tuning fork, and if it has the same vibration of another tuning fork, the same tone, it will make that same one hum, right? So it is something that has been documented and paid attention, that like attracts like. I mean, it's what homeopathy is built from. And in law of attraction, it's really talking about our thought, how our output is connected to what we attract to us. So things of equal vibration will come together. So it makes sense, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And I, you know, even in my 20s, I was all for it. I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. However, I had an incredible amount of trauma I had to process, and a very dysregulated nervous system. So I began my journey of yoga and breath work, and after the death of my husband about 2 years ago, I really upped up my game and got into Kundalini Yoga, which I am now a Kundalini Yoga instructor. When that happened, everything shifted for me, and it really got me thinking. Like, it regulated my nervous system. I have CPTSD, and which is just like prolonged, you know, childhood or complex CPTSD. And it's really, with what I keep seeing within the spiritual realm of law of attraction, is this compounding of issues. So you've got somebody who, let's say, experienced trauma or experienced just chronic stress or economic issues for prolonged periods of time. It really gets their nervous system out of whack. And then we're trying to push ourselves into these positive thoughts, and then we get into these circles of self-guilt and self-shame because we're creating our own reality and we don't mean to. Like, we don't want to when it comes to the things that we're on autopilot about, especially when you've had trauma. So I'm really excited to speak about this issue today because I really do think it's the breakthrough that the spiritual community, or just people who are vision boarding or whatever you're doing to work with law of attraction, are asking for. So what is the nervous system? The nervous system is interconnected network of billions of neurons, okay? So that billions of neurons are all speaking to each other within the body. So it's everything from how we see light, so our endocrine system can start releasing sleep hormones, saying, oh, it's getting dark, it's time to go to bed, right? Like, let's release our sleep hormone. from how we just experience all of life, how our organs talk to our brain, how our digestion talks to the rest of our body. Our nervous system is how we experience life. It is how we touch and feel and sense. It is pretty much how we think. It's what's connected to what we're perceiving around us. And so you've got, two sides of the nervous system: the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and relaxation and digestion, right? And then you've got your sympathetic, which is that fight or flight, that like aggressive or like survival mode. And we're supposed to naturally switch between the two. We're not supposed to be stuck in either one. But when you've had dysregulation of your nervous system, you can get stuck in overreacting or underreacting. You can get stuck in fatigue. You can get stuck in hyperaggression. You can get stuck in hypervigilance, where you're over responding and you're overstimulated. So a dysregulated nervous system is directly correlated to mental illness and depression and other sleep disorders and anxiety, panic attacks, bad digestion, irritability, exhaustion, inappropriate behavior, like responding in the wrong way, disproportionate to what's actually going on. And this obviously can really disrupt our relationship to ourselves and our relationship to others, our relationship to money, our relationship to our job, our relationship to be able to make good decisions for ourselves. So this is also food for thought, that our frontal cortex, our prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain that's responsible for decision making and making appropriate life decisions that are healthy and supportive for our future, forward thinking. It doesn't finish really developing in a healthy, normal childhood until age 25. But if you've experienced substance abuse of any kind, that is drinking, because 21, we might as well, all of college, most people, if not way before, like me, way before, start drinking really early, and it's socially acceptable. And other substance abuses, marijuana, things like that, when you overdo those things mixed with any trauma or, let's say, economic distress or social distress, or unsupportive relationships, unemotional relationships, things like that can create our prefrontal cortex to not develop into even our early 30s, y'all. So this obviously can create really bad decision making. And this really bad decision making can compound and create even more problems for our nervous system, because we're in chronic stress. We are thinking short term and in ways that are destructive to us and the people that we love, to our stability, to our home, to our well-being. And then we have to deal with that, right? So that stress, that trauma that we've induced to ourselves and or have experienced in the world at large, or in our relationships that we've chose for ourselves because we're not having the ability to make healthy choices for ourselves, that compounds, and we just become a hot mess. We can't sleep. We don't know how to relate well to people. We're irritable and we have rage outbursts, things like that, right? Depression, we're lethargic. We don't know how we feel. I mean, there's so many ways that a dysregulated nervous system shows itself. One of the ways I actually started to realize is how hypervigilant I was. Somebody would come into the room even though I knew they were in the house, and I would jump. And I'm like, what? I knew you were here. Why am I so scared? I would have rage responses, like just outburst when I didn't feel like my needs were met, and I didn't even know that was coming. I had no cognitive decision making in those moments. And for me, it would also come in panic attacks or just general depression. And I knew about law of attraction in my mid-20s, after I had a relationship with Louise Hay and Abraham Hicks and things like that. I got into their books and their readings and their YouTube videos and things like that, and was like, yes, I'm gonna create a reality I love. Like, I was so depressed. I'd been suicidal for pretty much my whole life, since the age of 7, 8 years old. It was ridiculous. And I all of a sudden was like, oh my gosh, I can think happy thoughts and then I can create this life that I want. that's fantastic. And then the reality sunk in that like I really had no control over those thoughts. I could force myself and I could journal a million times, but as soon as I got triggered, as soon as some sort of stress response would come, like as soon as something stressed me out, a stress response would come out of me, and I would have no clue how to get back to square one. And how do we manifest joy, love, support, abundance, beautiful relationships, things like that? How do we manifest that when we're stuck in fight or flight, when we're stuck in freeze mode, when we're stuck in a rumination of things we don't want to feel and think, and it's just because we're in trauma response or a stress response? We need to regulate our nervous systems, my loves. And if we regulate our nervous systems, we will naturally start to attract that with which we want, because we will become what we want. We will have more within us to be peaceful, calm, regulated, in control, and our vibration will just naturally rise because we're not buzzing all off sequence. We're not like literally tuned to our past traumas that haven't been processed. So again, I'm really not a big fan of positive thoughts, good vibes only, y'all. Like, yeah. It's kind of, you know, that whole toxic positivity, it really compounds what they call new age guilt. And that new age guilt is like, I create my own reality, but I don't know how I'm doing it, even though I know how I'm doing it, and I feel terrible that I can't seem to choose what I want to choose. And then we beat ourselves up, and it just is like, instead of being guilty for how we've treated others, it's guilty for how we treat ourselves, and we don't even know how to break that cycle, y'all. So really, again, positive thinking is not the thing that shifts your reality. It's regulating the nervous system, which makes positive thinking accessible. It makes positive thinking natural. It makes positive thinking the next logical step, right? Doesn't that make perfect sense? So ways that you can regulate your nervous system, you know, there's lots of people into the cold showers or cold dunking, into baths, and really just like going from hot to cold to regulate the nervous system. Check that out if that's something you're into. I live in Costa Rica because I can't stand the cold. I'm from New York. Like, it just isn't appealing to me. And my body says, you don't have to do that. So do whatever suits you. I'm all for it if that's your thing. I got really into Kundalini Yoga. Again, I teach that. If that's something that's like, what is that? Look into it. Really using the breath work and certain arm movements, accessing the endocrine system, the glandular system, working the lymph, working the blood. You know, you really start to begin to relax the nervous system, and you go from regulating it because you're actually working the parasympathetic to the sympathetic, the parasympathetic to the sympathetic intentionally. And through that, you gain control. And it's something that has literally changed my life. I do teach my clients programs that are catered just for them and their needs, and it's all mostly around morning routines. I am also a self-love coach, but I integrate some of that knowledge when it comes to Kundalini Yoga, self-love coaching, into these morning routines and how to just regulate your nervous system so you can be more naturally attractive to that with which you want. You become what you want when you are regulated, when you have control. So there's that way. Breath work in general is extremely helpful. So look up different types of breath work. I am going to be putting a lot of breath work videos, so stay tuned. If that's something that interests you, like, subscribe. I would love to, you know, make those videos. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you want. I'm here for you. But I am also going to be doing morning routine videos. So I'm going to be doing like 15-minute morning routine videos where I guide you through a 15-minute set, things like that. So stay tuned. It's all coming. But there's so many different ways. Getting out in nature, when they talk about grounding and you actually get out in nature and put your bare feet into the ground, and some people have allergies, that's not acceptable and it's fine. I totally get that. But if it's possible, or you can get to a botanical gardens that's a little bit more controlled of an environment, has a little less allergens for people, get out and ground yourself and release certain energies, and actually the positive energy of the earth can, comes through your feet and actually can regulate your nervous system. There's also just getting out in nature of all different kinds, walking, stop over stressing yourself, making sure that you get lots of rest, lots of water, lots of downtime. And this isn't zoning in front of the TV, zoning in front of your phone. That actually stimulates your nervous system. Making sure that you give yourself plenty of space between sleep and your phone. This is from the morning even and the night. So give yourself about an hour either way. And the blue light will have this extremely negative effect and overstimulate our nervous system and also our endocrine system. So that way we can't get a good night's sleep. So that's something to think about. Maybe space yourself out from that if you're wanting to regulate your nervous system. Things like coffee and caffeine is just an overstimulant and can also create more of an issue with your nervous system. So cutting that out as much as possible. Sometimes we just can't because our lifestyle doesn't allow for it, and our addiction to it is very great. But finding simple ways, like I said, walking, meditating can really help when we're deliberately just kind of stilling our body and stilling our mind. Yoga in general can be really great, but I didn't find for myself that it was enough. I needed to really get in there and work the nervous system, which Kundalini yoga was it for me. But dancing can also help as long as you're not overdoing yourself. Just making space for time to calm down from life. Life is just go, 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 go. We're pushed. We're like, set those goals. Make sure you're checking off those boxes. Go, go, go. Just don't do that to yourself, okay? The extra $1,000 is not worth it. It's not worth it, okay? You're worth more than the grind. So that is definitely going to over tweak your nervous system. Just in general, finding ways that you can calm yourself down deliberately. But my favorite two are Kundalini yoga and breath work. And Kundalini yoga mixes breath work right into its practice. So I highly recommend, if you actually haven't experienced it, to try it out, and to try it out for like a 40-day stint, because you will notice a huge difference in your ability to calm, regulate, and radiate, be this radiant version of yourself, this illuminated, clear, concise, precise version of yourself. And then think about that. What can you do with that? You can attract anything you want from that. You can think with a clear canvas. You can attract from a calm place, this foundation, this blank canvas. It's not just spewed with splashes of black paint, right? It's this nice blank canvas ready for you to paint your beautiful life upon it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to know what you thought about that. If you've had similar thoughts in the past, or if this was the first time that you even put those two things together, I would love to hear. So again, subscribe if it's something that this kind of thing interests you and you would like to talk about more or anything else. I also am a tarot and oracle reader, and I do plenty of pick-a-cards, many more to come. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was my pleasure just going over a skimmed version of this topic. And again, I'll probably be doing more on this exact topic and deep diving into it. But again, thank you for your time. Bye.